What's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I'm just going to use some generic footage in the background. I really hope that's not going to be an issue, because I'm going to be giving so many examples, name dropping, and just constant jargon with this video that hopefully you guys can follow along. I've got way too much energy and enthusiasm for this one. Then again, that's what you love me for, right? Here's the rant, guys. A little bit kind of a negative, because this is talking about something that I feel has really been missing inside of modern fantasy-based games. And the title, a little bit of romance in it, is Fantasy Has Failed Gamers, Spells Break Swords. And I've actually tried recording this a few times already, but I just get a little bit too ranty, but now I gotta self-admit, it's a rant. I actually did an essay. I literally wrote a very poetic essay, literally like poetry, alliteration, all sorts of rhyme schemes, just completely litter and just, it's disgusting. It's gross. I can't say that. That's way too heavy. That's not really real anyways. I'd rather punch you a little bit more percussively with, just kind of me just saying stuff and just kind of, just rant. I just want to rant. I just want to rant because I think that's from the heart. That's how it should be. So yeah, I'm going to holler from the heart. And if you guys, have anything you want to add to the conversation, shout it out roundabout down below. That'd be pretty great. But yeah, today we're talking about how I kind of don't like magic inside of a lot of these fantasy games. And I feel like magic is just like this solution to all sorts of problems. This is already kind of a meme when it comes to writing. Whatever plot armor you need or whatever, it's magic. It's magic bullshittery. And even in pretty hard magic systems, maybe even if it's very down to earth or low fantasy, even like Game of Thrones, right? There's just bullshit that just comes out. And it kind of really, it really makes it feel like, it's just, magic is just kind of duct tape. Magic is just duct tape for story writing, and especially I think it's going to be impactful with gameplay, which is, I'm somebody who I don't want to have really like a limitation on creativity, but I honestly feel like limitations breed creativity. And magic, when you don't really set limits on yourself, or let's say you're making an MMO or whatever, it's just too easy. It's too tempting, and honestly saves a lot of money because you don't have to make too many animations. It's just easy to throw on some really overdone, overproduced effects. Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy 14, looking at you, onto abilities or whatever, and call it a day. You could just make a bunch of different fireballs, some lightning bolts, whatever. Basically like your blinks, your fireballs, your frost novas. Just general stuff, or like a flaming sword swing, and you can just call it a day. But what's actually harder is designing and creating something. Maybe it's like a harpoon style weapon. Yeah, let's make like a harpoon bow, a giant great harpoon bow that can actually be used as like a hook shot. Can snipe other players, and you can do a lot of ridiculous shit with that, right? Maybe can actually shoot like 5 harpoons in the sky at once. They fall down, it creates like a net. There's so many things that you could do with like some weird, very physical concept like that, but that's a lot of work. Instead, let's just do a normal fantasy bow. You shoot 1 arrow in the air and it just does a rain of arrows. Just a general magic effect. There's really no reality based on that whatsoever. Or you could just do like a general sword, and then the sword, while it's a normal sword, magic, it's now a fire sword. Or, magic, it's now covered in ice. Things like that, it's just kind of the easy way out. And I'm just saying that it's too prolific in fantasy games. I feel like magic is just a way for developers to be like, we want them to, have mobility. We want them to do certain things. Just magic. It's just magic. But when you play games like Monster Hunter, or you play games like Bloodborne that have way more physical and grounded in reality style weapons, and yeah, Monster Hunter with the insect glaive is the opposite of grounded, but still, even in those games, it's like it elevates the reality into fantasy instead of like just being all over the place with just random spell effects. And if I do kind of make fun of a game that I'm using as an example, I'm sorry. Especially Final Fantasy 14, I think, is a big problem with this. You could even say something like World of Warcraft. Sure, there's Guild Wars 2, one of my most beloved MMOs, definitely does this. And Guild Wars 2 is actually one of the games that does weapons kind of right in a way. So yeah, basically, it's just a lot of random spell effects. But I will say that Guild Wars 2, the good thing about it is that depending on the situation, you do have more varied weapons. Because weapons in real life each are uniquely used for a specific situation. You have swords, which are mainly for duels, and then, you have different weapons for different types of duels versus different types of armors. From maces to daggers are like, assassination-based personal defense, or, just general use and toolage. And then you have, your kind of like siege warfare, maybe like lances and different kind of spears. Like a spear, you're not going to carry around a spear for just general personal defense, right? So there are, and also use spears in the water. Guild Wars 2 got that right. You just swing, hammers in the water, World of Warcraft. What the hell? That's not how, no, we don't do that. So it's pretty cool that some games kind of go a little bit up, not above and beyond, but compared to fantasy games, I guess it is. You do see some games having elements of maybe steampunk or just a little bit of ingenuity now, especially because weapon swapping is kind of a more popular trend, if you could even call it that in some games, kind of. But really, oh my god, everyone just uses the same tropes. It's like the same sort of like, like straight sword, broadsword kind of thing, or they just have like a giant, Dragon Slayer or Buster Blade kind of sword. It's just all very tropey and usual, and everything is supplemented by just magic. He can swing around this giant sword because magic, which, I mean, Monster Hunter kind of does that too, but whatever. It's way more interesting when you have something like Bloodborne. Bloodborne has weapons where when you see it, you think about, okay, why was that weapon created? What kind of monsters is that weapon supposed to hunt? So, the general, like, on the cover art, you have, like, the cleaver. The cleaver that turns into, like, a sword thing. It's just really, really exciting. It's like, okay, what is he hacking and slashing? Maybe he can use this form in corridors. Maybe this form is for the execution, cutting the neck. Maybe this one is for cutting smaller foes. Or different parts of different monsters. And that is really, I think, the epitome of monster hunting. And those are my two favorite things, by the way, is monsters and the weapons to hunt monsters. So yeah, I'm a huge geek when it comes to Monster Hunter, to Bloodborne, games like Horizon Zero Dawn, though that is sci-fi, whatever. That's my favorite kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna geek out about this, and hopefully you guys have played some of those games. If not, play all of them, please and thank you. I know I'm gonna be name dropping. I'm throwing stuff everywhere. It's a rant, it's a ramble, but hey, hope you guys enjoy the energy. Anyways, so when it comes to just like general fantasy games, especially I would say like looter action RPG, the isometric ones, doubly so, a million times so actually for those games. And then yeah, MMOs. It's normally like you got your normal character, plate armor, whatever. Oh, and talking about fantasy armor and its usefulness and stuff is, that's another rant. That's coming right up. But yeah, you just got your normal plate armor, sword, and shield, and that's pretty much it. There's definitely an underrepresentation of spears though. And really just the variety of weapons should be way bigger. So before I even go into a rant, which I already am, about like unique and innovative weapons, I really feel like really we just need more representation of weapons that already exist in real life. Like just look at some of the gladiatorial weapons, or maybe some of the, I would say like almost prehistoric weapons, or weapons from maybe like Central America, or like older African weapons, some older Egyptian weapons. There's really some truly unique weaponology that has been kind of lost to time that really could be dug up and brought back in a fantasy setting, especially if you supplement it with magic. But the problem is everyone just uses the same old tropes, and to elevate it to the proper gameplay that they want, they just fill it in with magic. And it just gets really messy, and at this point, especially inside of MMORPGs, it's too noisy, it's gross, it's hard to look at, and especially in games like Guild Wars 2 or Elder Scrolls Online, to me, it's unplayable. And that's a huge complaint that was for Guild Wars 2. And that's a game that actually does have unique weapons and more unique spell effects and particular uses for those weapons as well. So we need to really go above and beyond and think about really using less magic as a filler for creativity and creating these mechanics inside of video games, and really thinking about, really honing in unique weapons. So this rant was kind of spurred on by a couple of videos that I was watching. Well, one, I already wanted to do a video talking about how where's all the spears in games? What the hell? Like Elder Scrolls Online, spears are a spell. Spears are literally the most fundamental basic weapon. It's primal, okay? A spear. Where the hell are my spears? Especially in all these games where we're hunting monsters. Dude, spears are literally the monster hunting weapon. That's how we took down mammoths and whatever, okay? Whatever. Anyways, but then also I'm seeing people kind of creating modern medieval weapons. Weapons or attachments to weapons or armors that could have been invented back in the day and been very useful, actually. Been used in some way. And they're creating like these rapid fire freaking longbows, you know, stuff like that. That it's not fantasy and it's not fantastic. It's just something that wasn't historic and it's not a trope, and it took ingenuity to actually come up with, but it's something that exists, and I just can't believe someone in a video game hasn't thought of that. Because oddly enough, in sci-fi, that's like the whole point. Well, not the whole point, but it is quite drastically a point inside of sci-fi to kind of invent things. And while they are obviously with elements of fantasy and guesswork, but because of sci-fi, we have satellites. Because of sci-fi, we have many inventions, and our modern society is kind of built on sci-fi stuffs, actually. So it's just weird that fantasy hasn't really had that same impact, because I honestly feel like magic is just too good of a solution to a lot of problems. Problems, you know, when it comes to gameplay, it's too easy, and it just saves too much money. So yeah, I think a great example would be, you know, why have a grappling hook inside of a video game? You know, have all these animations, incorporate the physics of that, which could lead to so many gameplay possibilities. Why do all of that when we can just have a general sort of pool or shadow step style magic ability? And don't get me wrong, I mean, shadow step's a kind of cool concept, but it ain't as cool as a grappling hook is all I'm saying. And I do love grappling hooks. That video coming soon. But yeah, you know, grappling hooks or whip swords. And I'm sure you actually name in the comments below an ingenious sort of, I guess, like physical weapon that you want to see in the game. I definitely want switch weapons and weapons that have alternate forms and things like that. I want to incorporate that. One great example, actually, hopefully you guys have played League of Legends. You should have. There is a character who is famous. His name is Thresh. Thresh is the reason why I really I like League of Legends. Thresh has a chain scythe that is attached to a lantern. That is a fantasy weapon if I've ever seen it, but it is physical, and the gameplay is very physical and very mechanical. You can throw the lantern, which is attached via a chain, so that you can pull your teammates, and you can also throw your like scythe, your chain scythe, attach it to an enemy, and pull you and potentially your teammate to the enemy. So that is a very physical thing, but it's supplemented by magic because the lantern, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a magic lantern. And obviously the scythe can, like, you know, the chain is like infinite-ish. I don't know, like it's like there's elements of fantasy there and gameplay-ism, you know, like if you have a rocket lance, well, what is it fueled by? I don't know, but it's more than just like, it's a lance and you're using a magical ability to like teleport to an enemy or something, or you run real fast because of magic. No, it's a fucking rocket lance, okay, and it's exploding. You know, that's just cool. Or what about a mace that's actually a lantern mace, and it could be on fire. You know, like it could be a lantern burning with magic, but still, you know, it's like it's got the elements of like a physical element. Also, by the way, if you guys don't know this, torches were a very important self-defense weapon and actually used in combat. Torches. So a torch mace, or maybe a torch sword. I don't know, something that's just like, oh, it's a sword and it's on fire because magic. What if it was a torch, like, sword? I don't know how that could be used, but whatever. Maybe a one-time use, it combusts, that's it. Gun lances and Monster Hunter are pretty great. So yeah, I just want to see more emphasis on more creative weapons. Maybe stuff like hooks and scythes. Definitely more representation of God, please, more spears. Spears, glaives, insect glaive, and Monster Hunter. Basically, most Monster Hunter weapons. And different varieties of shields, really. And different varieties of swords that actually change how you play. That's a big one too. You know, if we can go into that. A lot of games, it's like, okay, this is a class that uses all the different kind of swords. But I don't know if a dude in full plate would be using a scimitar. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe, and if it was like a unique type of scimitar or something like that. But I don't know. We're fighting a plated dragon. Why is he using a scimitar against a plated dragon? Shouldn't he have a hammer, a mace? I don't know, or spear to get in between the scales. Fuck, even a dagger, actually. You know, if he can just like latch on, maybe he can be like a grappler style knight. Probably should have claw weapons then. I don't know. Like, there's so much stuff that you got to think about when it comes to like, okay, really, how would this person work? But you know, developers don't do that. Developers and players don't need to think like that. Yeah, you know, you can use whatever sword for whatever situation. You have a fucking rapier, have a scimitar, have a giant sword for any situation, anytime. Doesn't matter because magic. Doesn't matter because bullshit. That's basically what it is. And even though certain classes like the warrior in World of Warcraft seemingly don't use magic, it's, you know, it's totally like magical. It's esoteric. Nothing's really explained. Again, you can just swing hammers underwater. So that's my issue, is that there's just too much room because of magic. It's just too easy. I definitely appreciate things like Ivy's sword, the whip sword, definitely fantastic. Bloodborne's the switch, or the trick, all the weapons, basically like everything out of that. And definitely Monster Hunter's weapons as well. The sword and shield, the fact that you could put the sword in the shield and make it, or the switch axe, which is actually like a great sword that can switch to well, obviously an axe. Yeah, all that stuff is really cool. It doesn't have to be steampunk or anything, but just let's think about it. There's actually a couple of people who make sort of like modern weapons. It's kind of like survival gear or zombie survival gear, where they're sort of like multi-purpose tools. That's like, okay, this is a machete, but it's also an axe, but it's also like this, like, I don't know, a bunch of different shit. I don't know. Okay, a hammer. It's like an axe, hammer, sword, machete thing. They just make really unique style knives as well. There's so many different kind of knives and daggers and self-defense and just tools, period, that are kind of still being invented even today, actually. I think the Karambit, am I even saying that right? Karambite style knife. Really interesting. I would love to see that actually in a game. So it's not like all daggers, the character would play the same, all daggers or all swords or all hammers. And I think it's just kind of really lame that MMOs do that. So yeah, instead of just giving us fireballs or general acrobatic ability, it would be cool if like, okay, the guy with the staff can use the staff like and vault with it, instead of just being like, oh, guy with staff, he can do front flips. Like, okay, I mean, technically like a lot of weapons you could do that. Or like, this guy who has like, the magical crystal ball or whatever, he's casting all these different spells. But I think even with the magical mediums, you could be more unique. So yeah, you have your crystal balls. Maybe that could cast certain types of spells. Maybe magic mirrors, magic shields. And I actually do really appreciate that. The magic style classes in Guild Wars 2, even though they do use certain weapons, it's just there to kind of like they actually use the weapon as like a magical medium, mainly the Mesmer. The Mesmer, actually, it's really mainly the Mesmer Greatsword. Mesmer Greatsword is legit hype. Also Mesmer Shield probably, but Mesmer Greatsword. And they really play into the fantasy elements as well. So you have this giant, huge, obviously stupid big fantasy greatsword, and it almost looks like a fan, doesn't it? So you can, with the Mesmer, you actually can use an ability that fans the greatsword, and it knocks everyone back. It just, you can use, like, greatswords are big, huge, hulking, basically like almost staff-like, in terms of like its length. Maybe you could use it to shoot a fucking laser beam. It's like point that greatsword. It looks like it would channel and focus energy. That's what it does. So I think even in terms of using magic and magic instrumentation, we could be a little bit more creative. I would love to see a magic whip sword. Which, I mean, you can look at some manhwa and some manga, and you definitely see stuff like that. But in terms of gameplay, it's like, it's too hard to create physical / mechanical things because of the animation, because of the models, and the interaction with other players' models and animations and things. But that really should be the goal. And then magic should really fill in the gaps. It shouldn't, like, really the way it is now is like, it's just magic. Yeah, I think I definitely want to blame a lot of the ARPG scene, because you just have these like magical, I don't know, I was going to say that word a lot, crystals or whatever that give you abilities, and you slot it into maybe a claw weapon. Okay. And now all of a sudden you're just shooting molten lava bombs. I mean, that's something, but I wish maybe that it was actually like you augment the weapon and then the weapon strikes a certain way. So maybe it's like you're just kind of spewing like hot blades of lava or obsidian that you're throwing, I guess, claws of obsidian that then shatter and then explode. Specifically coming from the claw design. Maybe that doesn't mean too much in a lot of ARPGs because you just point, click, and then just press one ability and it just spams the whole screen. But I think that's also a huge problem, is maybe it shouldn't be like that. Maybe claw weapons should have like little stagger lunges, and whenever you attack, it's like, okay, then shards of obsidian come out. And if you do want the molten lava bombs that are just constantly spewing out, maybe you could have some sort of cannon hammer. So every time you swing, the hammer actually has multiple holes in it, so it just kind of like explodes out of the holes. So it's the same technical spell, but it plays a little bit differently, where maybe the obsidian shards go in specific directions and explode and shatter in specific directions. I don't know, but I just feel like mechanically the weapons have really no purpose. Their weapons are almost always just stat sticks and just there for aesthetics. I do want more cannon hammers. Thank you, Dauntless. Oh my god, it's so fun in Dauntless. I do want more cannon hammers and chain scythes. And, you know, just maybe like hook shots. Hell yeah. And definitely more giant bows. Give us more giant oversized bows. I think oversized swords, that's neat. But oversized bows would be pretty cool. More like dual blades and more ridiculous weapons that then could be enhanced. Dual chain blades. I don't fucking know, right? There's so many crazy wuxia weapons, actually, but we need to go even further and beyond. And then augment it with magic. Don't just have magic being the solution to everything always. It's just, to me, a little boring. And I think a lot of people are getting really tired of it. And honestly, it's just too noisy. It's honestly way too noisy. Looking especially at action RPGs and MMO RPGs. It's just spell effects galore. And in the end, I think it would be more interesting to play and to see. And then also in terms of roleplay and the story, the writing, it would be more believable. And it would just have more bite, actually, if you filled the screen a little less with that ridiculous spell effect. You know, just chill it out. Chill it out. Let me actually like see the game. And let me actually play the game, not just press a single button or a few buttons and then just fireworks go off. Yeah, that'd be pretty great. So anyways, guys, I could definitely ramble about this forever and give way too many examples, which I already have, but hopefully you enjoyed the long-winded video, 20 minutes into it. But I do want to ask you once again, guys, what's like your favorite type of weapon, if it's in reality, or like, you know, do you have any concepts of some really fun weapons that could be used? For me, I would love like a hookshot giant great bow thing, like, you know, like the Dragon Slayer bows in Dark Souls. I want to see more shit like that. You know, we always have like these super nimble archers, though I do think crossbows need a little bit more representation. Crossbows or bow guns, that would be really cool. More heavy ranged weapons, but definitely I want a giant fucking Dragon Slayer great bow that also has chains attached to all the arrows. I don't care, that sounds hype as hell to me. A giant, like a big heavy artillery hook shot, please and thank you. And yeah, definitely let's get some magic bazookas, I don't give a fuck. And yeah, I'm okay with magic, that's totally fine. But just more thought into the actual physical weapons, please and thank you. Definitely got to rant about armor though. Oh my god, you thought weapons were underutilized. Armor, but then again, everyone knows about armor, right? Okay, that's next. But anyways, yeah, what's like your favorite weapons and what do you want to see more inside of your fantasy games? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys had fun with this video. It was just a for fun video, just a rant. Don't gotta take it too seriously. But maybe it's fun to take fantasy seriously. Yeah, let's do it actually. All right, guys, keep the hype alive. I'll see you again next time.